What is good, guys? This is Steven with All Talk On, and today we're going to be going through some PC acronyms. Now, before we hop into this, I just want to let you guys know I'm starting a new little series of mine, I guess. It's going to be called In Case You Didn't Know, and basically, it's exactly what it sounds like. It's things that I tell you in case you didn't know. So the first thing we're going through, like I said, is PC acronyms. Now, I hear a lot of people use a lot of these terms and acronyms and whatever you guys want to call them, but not a lot of people actually understand what they stand for. So basically, I'm just going to go through. I'm not going to give too extensive of definitions or anything. I'm just going to let you guys know what it stands for. You want to further search into it, go for it. I'm not trying to make a 45-minute video explaining 20 different things. So first off, we're going to start off with one of the most used ones that I think the most amount of people don't understand what it means, or what it stands for, I guess. And we're going to go with RAM. RAM, yes, RAM, RAM this, RAM that. You need RAM, 8 gigs, 1600 megahertz RAM. So that stands for random access memory, which is basically exactly what it is and or does. So simple as that, you guys. Random access memory. Tell your friends you're smarter than them. Next is DDR, which once again has to do with your memory. You're looking at double data rate. So DDR this, DDR that, DDR3, DDR4 for those crazy intels that are coming out, I guess. But yeah, double data rate, very simple. GDDR, we're looking at graphics double data rate, which is what your GPU uses, hence the graphics part of it. Next, we're going to go over another crazy one that people are going to be like, everyone knows what that means, but obviously they don't, because I just feel like 40% of the people that say this don't know what it means, like actually stands for. And that is CPU. Everyone's like, wow, really, CPU? Everyone knows what CPU. Well, if you don't use a computer, you more than likely have no idea what CPU stands for. And even if you do use a computer, if you haven't actually looked it up, you have no idea what it stands for either. You may know what it is, but you don't know what the acronym is. So we're looking at Central Processing Unit. Basically, it's exactly that, because it's in the center of your motherboard, or at least is the center of your motherboard. It's not directly in the center, but you know what I mean. Next is GPU. Once again, graphics processing unit. Pretty self-explanatory. So that one I think is actually easier than the CPU. Because if anything, I would think it would be computing processing unit or something like that. But you know, I guess we can live with that. Next, I want to go over another one, which is gigabyte and gigabit. These aren't acronyms. Everyone knows what they stand for, but I feel like a lot of people use them incorrectly, which is why I want to go over them. First off, we're going to go with gigabit. Okay, if you see GB, a lot of people just instantly jump to conclusion and say gigabyte. Okay, well, if it's a lowercase b, you're talking about gigabit, not gigabyte. The uppercase b is for byte, the lowercase b is for bit. Same goes for megabyte and megabit. So when people talk about their internet and say they're getting 60 megabytes per second, you can go ahead and tell them they're a liar, because it's megabits per second, which is a huge difference in the amount that there actually is when you compare bits to bytes. Which, I mean, to someone who doesn't know what PC is, they're like, bits and bytes, what are you fucking talking about? Well, anyways, we're going to move on. You know, I don't want to get stuck on that whole thing. Next is PC. Once again, another one that I feel like if you use a computer like a gamer, video editor, if you're extensively on the computer, you know what a PC is. You know what it stands for. But a lot of those normal, non-PC using people and a lot of beginners don't know exactly what it stands for. They may have an idea, but if you said life or death, are you 100% sure this is your final answer? They probably wouldn't be that sure. But it stands for personal Oh, sorry, burped a little bit. Sorry, I was eating, guys. Stands for personal computer. Next, we're going to go through different types of fans. Actually, only 2 types of fans. But once again, these guys use acronyms like SP and AF, and not everyone knows what they mean. Basically, we're looking at static pressure is SP, and AF is airflow, as you would guess. Static pressure is something you'd want to put up against your radiator and or heatsink or drive bays. Basically, when there's something restricting airflow, is when you want to use a static pressure fan. As far as airflow goes, those are mostly for case fans and free-flowing air where there is no resistance against the push or pull of the air. If you guys want to get into knowing a little bit more about that, if you're picking fans, just look it up on on YouTube. There's Linus Tech Tips and all that good stuff. He has a bunch of videos about the fans. So we're moving on. Next we have BIOS, another gigantic one that a lot of people use, and I guarantee you 50+% of them have no idea what it stands for. We're looking at Basic Input Output System, which is extremely simple. I would have never guessed, honestly. 100%, I would have never guessed that. I thought it would have been something crazy. I thought there would have been a need to make it into an acronym besides the fact that it's 4 words. But next we're going to go to UEFI, another one that people use all day long. They'll be typing that on their computers, talking crap to people and giving you tutorials, but they don't necessarily know what it stands for. It stands for Unified Extensible Firmware Interface. So when you have a UEFI BIOS, you have a Unified Extensible Firmware Interface Basic Input Output System, which is a mouthful, which is exactly why they trimmed it down. Next we have another crazy one that people are looking at me like, what the hell, is OS. No, I'm not running out of material. I'm just saying there's a lot of people out there that don't use computers like we do and have no idea what an OS is. My little brother and my mom are 2 of those people. So I mean, that's, you know what I mean? What the hell? That's like 2/3 of my family. That's sad. Anyways, it stands for operating system. I mean, you know, we know this, but I'm saying it for people out there in case they don't, because there are people out there, whether you want to believe it or not, they exist, you guys. Keep them in mind too. Just because you know everything about computers doesn't mean they do. Next we're going to go over VGA, which is Video Graphics Array, another one used pretty heavily, probably not really understood by most people. USB, Universal Serial Bus. Once again, another one that I would have never guessed. This is like the first time I heard USB Universal Serial Bus. I was like, what the fuck? Why is there a bus? Why does it have serial? Why is it in my computer? Why is there a bus with serial in my computer? Like, seriously, it was just like, what the hell? You know. Next we have DVI-D and DVI-I. So DVI-D is Digital Video Interface, which is basically when it has the D at the end of it, it means it's a digital video signal. DVI-I is Digital Video Interface, but it's an analog signal. So DVI-I is analog video signal, and DVI-D is digital video signal. There is a difference. That little VGA cable you plug into your back of your computer back in like the early 2000s and 90s and whatnot, yeah, that was VGA. That was analog signal. So there you guys go. Next, another one. Oh my God, I can't believe how much this is used by people that have no idea what it's understood by. This is probably the most one, because not only PC people use it, and honestly a lot of other people besides PC people use like a lot, and that is HDMI. Obviously the standard person's could be like high definition, duh, but then what does the rest of it stand for? I don't know. So we're looking at high definition multimedia interface, which is pretty damn simple and wouldn't be that hard to guess if you really think about it. So that one doesn't really surprise me at all. The next one we're looking at 1080p and 1080i. I thought these ones would be a good one to put in there because, once again, this is extensively used by gamers, and I guarantee you half of them, more than probably like 75% of them, have no idea what the P stands for in 1080p and what the the I stands for in 1080i, even though we don't really use 1080i, we use 1080p obviously. But the P stands for progressive and the I stands for interlaced. Now the difference is 1080p is better. That's the main difference. That's all you really need to worry about. But if you want to get really into it, we're looking at basically something that, if you really wanted to know, search it up on YouTube if you want some extensive knowledge. There's a lot of guys that do like video recording and editing, and photographers that know a lot about this. But basically what we're looking at is 1080p progressive. 1080 progressive is basically showing you a full picture per frame. So you get a full image on your screen per frame, so 60 images per second for 60 frames per second. So you're getting that full image. Now 1080i is interlaced. Basically, draw some horizontal lines across your screen. Break your screen up into 30 horizontal different sections. Now every even section, you're going to put an image, and then every odd section you're going to put the rest of that image. So basically you're splitting up that image into 2 frames. So basically 60 frames per second interlaced is only 30 frames per second PI. Now, the frames are never on the screen at the same time for interlace, which is why 1080p is better, as well as the fact that, like I just said, it's practically double the frames. Now, how 1080i works is the even and odd frames flash so rapidly that the human eye doesn't detect it, so it does look like a moving picture, but when you do it in slow motion and or pause it, still frame it or whatever, you can definitely tell the difference, and it is pretty substantial. So if you guys want to learn more about that, go, like I said, YouTube it, Google it, you'll find it. Next, we're going to have the more ones that not really used but are fairly well known. We have ROM, which is read-only memory, PDF, which is portable document format. We have IP, which is Internet Protocol, LAN, which is Local Area Network, URL is Universal Resource Locator. And I think that's basically it. I actually had to write somewhat of not a script, but a list. Oh wait, I got one more for you guys. HTPC. Now this one, I don't think that many people use it, and I know not that many people know what it completely stands for. Obviously some people do and some people don't, but I feel like the ratio of amount of people that actually use this term to the amount of people that actually know what it understands, it's just kind of funnier than the rest of them. HTP stands for Home Theater Personal Computer, if you guys are wondering. Not that hard, very simple term, but like I said, a lot of people never use the term, so a lot of people don't even know it exists. They just call a computer because honestly a gamer isn't going to have a home theater PC as his gaming computer, and that is why they don't really hear about it, and your normal person doesn't call it an HTCP or HTPC because it's just a normal computer to him. He doesn't have a computer for gaming, a computer for his servers or whatever, his NAS, and he doesn't have a separate computer for his home theater, so he doesn't need to name his computer different things in his house. He just has one computer and he names it computer. So that's probably why I thought that one was a little bit funnier. Anyways, guys, well, that was my first edition of In Case You Didn't Know, and this is Steven with All Talk On, and stay tuned because I will catch you guys later.